Hey, welcome. So for today's explainer, we're diving into a really wild economic question. What happens when a country just gives up its own money? I know, it sounds pretty out there, but one nation has actually been living this reality for more than 100 years.
Really think about that for a second. No national currency, no printing presses humming in the background, no central bank deciding where interest rates should go. Your entire economy, your savings, your salary, all of it running on someone else's cash. What do you think the upsides would be? And man, what would be the risks?
And nope, this isn't some hypothetical classroom question. We're about to jump into the real-world case of Panama, a country that's been officially using the US dollar since all the way back in 1904.
Now, the official fancy term for this is dollarization, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when a country makes the huge decision to adopt a foreign currency, in this case the good old US dollar, as its one and only legal money for every single transaction. It's a massive economic commitment.
So what does this actually look like on the ground in Panama? Well, for starters, all the paper money you see, that's US dollars. They do have their own coins called the Balboa, but it's not a floating currency. It's locked permanently one-to-one with the dollar. But the really important part is what Panama can't do. Because it has no central bank, it can't just print more money if there's a crisis. It can't set its own interest rates to speed up or slow down the economy. And it can't devalue its currency to make its exports cheaper. They're basically outsourcing their entire monetary policy to the US Federal Reserve.
Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. Why would any country willingly sign away that much control over its own destiny? Well, the answer is all about a massive trade-off. It's a choice between stability and flexibility.
Okay, so think of it like this. On one side, Panama gets this incredible gift of stability and trust. Using the dollar keeps inflation super low and predictable. It makes foreign investors feel safe. They're not worried about the currency suddenly collapsing. But the cost for all that calm? A complete loss of economic flexibility. Panama is basically a passenger in a car being driven by the US economy, and they have to go wherever that car is headed, whether it's a good destination for them or not.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road, because over the past century, there have been these huge moments where what Panama's economy needed was the exact opposite of what US policy was doing. You could call these the ultimate stress tests for the whole dollarized model.
We're going to look at 4 key moments where this system was just pushed to its absolute limit. We've got the Great Depression, the Latin American debt crisis in the 80s, the wild political crisis under Noriega, and of course, the 2008 global financial meltdown. Each one of these stories shows you the deep, deep vulnerabilities that come with tying your economy to another country's.
Let's start with the Great Depression in the 1930s. Panama's economy, which relied heavily on trade in the canal, was just getting hammered. What it needed, desperately, was monetary stimulus. More money flowing around, lower interest rates to get people spending again. But what did the US do? Exactly the opposite. It tightened its money supply and clung to the gold standard, which just poured gasoline on the fire for Panama.
So here's the bottom line. Panama was forced to import America's deflation. That's when prices and wages are falling, which sounds okay, but it's actually disastrous in a downturn. It made their economic crisis even worse. And the kicker? They had absolutely no tools of their own to fight back. They were helpless.
All right, now let's fast forward to the 1980s. The US, led by Fed Chair Paul Volcker, decided to crank interest rates way up to kill its own runaway inflation. For Panama, this was devastating. They needed lower borrowing costs. But suddenly, all their debts got way more expensive, and the super strong dollar made it harder for them to compete.
The result was a brutal recession and a full-blown banking crisis. And once again, because Panama couldn't just print money to help its banks or devalue its currency to get a leg up, the economic pain was so much worse than it needed to be. But honestly, the most jaw-dropping test of this whole system came in the late 1980s. During a major political showdown with its leader, Manuel Noriega, the US hit Panama with sanctions. So, at the very moment Panama needed cash to keep its banks from collapsing, what did the US do? It froze all of Panama's assets and completely cut it off from the dollar system. And this moment, right here, revealed the ultimate weakness. The country literally ran out of physical cash, banks slammed their doors shut, and the entire economy just ground to a halt. It was the ultimate proof that dollarization makes you dependent not just on US economic policy, but on its political goodwill too.
Okay, so after hearing all of that, the crises, the helplessness, you have to be asking yourself, why in the world would Panama stick with this system? It seems unbelievably risky, right?
Well, the simple answer is that for Panama, the benefits have just consistently outweighed those risks. That dollar acts as a powerful anchor of stability. It's allowed the country to keep inflation incredibly low, to build up a really credible and trusted financial hub, and to pull in huge amounts of foreign investment. And maybe most importantly, it's helped Panama completely avoid the kind of devastating currency crises that have wrecked so many of its neighbors over the years.
So what's the big lesson here? What do we take away from all this? The story of Panama isn't just about Panama. It's this amazing real-world lesson about a fundamental choice every country has to make in economics. It all boils down to this one core principle, something economists sometimes call the impossible trinity. The idea is a country just can't have it all. You can't have total control of your own money, your own monetary policy, and have total stability with the rest of the world's economy. You have to pick one.
And Panama? Well, they made their choice, loud and clear, more than a century ago. They chose the anchor of external stability over the freedom of policy independence.
So here's maybe the simplest way to picture it. Think of Panama's economy as a small boat, and it's tied with a very strong rope to a massive ship, the U.S. economy. Now, as long as it's tied on, that little boat is incredibly stable. It doesn't get tossed around by every little wave. But here's the thing. It cannot steer itself. It goes wherever the big ship goes, for better or for worse. And the question that leaves us with is, in today's increasingly turbulent world, is that stability still worth the price of the ticket?